Thank you very much indeed. Yes, I am here to brief you on Mr. President's impending visit to New York to participate in the 74th session of the General Assembly. As you know, the General Assembly is one of the main organs, well, the main body really, of the United Nations. And every year it has a session, and this session is to be presided over by our permanent representative in the United Nations, Ambassador Professor Bande, and he was actually inaugurated yesterday. So as of yesterday, he is now the President of the General Assembly, and it's a cause of great pride for Nigeria, for this country. He is the second President of the General Assembly, a very prestigious position that Nigeria has produced. The first, of course, being the late General Garba. So Mr. President will be leading a big delegation because the General Assembly really covers issues of peace and security, and very importantly the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which cover social, economic issues, education issues, humanitarian issues, as I mentioned, there are peace and security issues, regarding child rights and so forth will be discussed. And it's clearly the largest summit that the world knows. In other words, it's the meeting in which you assemble the largest number of heads of state, and almost all the heads of states, over 100 or even more than that, attend. And the way it's structured, as you know, there's the high-level segment, which is the segment when the heads of states are present, usually the first week or so of the General Assembly's session. And these starts with national statements, which are really I suppose, the political core of the General Assembly. The General Assembly session actually goes on right up to the end of December, and so there are lots of other themes and technical issues that are discussed over the 3 or so month period. But of course, the high-level segment, the beginning of the session, also has, because of the heads of states that are all going to be there, and these national statements that they make, of course, is the highlight of the General Assembly. Mr. President will be delivering his speech. He's actually number 5 on the list of presidential speakers, and when you consider that there could be anything up to about, well, there are about 185 or so countries of the United Nations, and they all take the floor to speak, and so he gets to go to number 5, which is very, very high up. The advantage, of course, is that you get that out of the way fairly quickly, but and it also means that you will really have the attention of the world, and it's a great opportunity to project the country and also articulate the priorities of his government and of our country, and then, of course, going so high up, you really do have the attention of the world. In addition to the national statement that Mr. President will deliver, of course, the General Assembly is an opportunity to engage in so many fora, and there will be a lot of events organized around that period, because, as I said, it's probably the only event that can assemble so many heads of state in one place. So everybody takes advantage of that fact to organize, of course, all kinds of events. And Nigeria, we also want to take advantage of that, and we'll be organizing various national side events. So, for instance, some of the side events that Nigeria will be organizing, the side event on SDGs integration, bridging the policy planning budget gap for the achievement of the SDGs. And this is being organized by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals. Then there's a side event on promotion of international cooperation to combat illicit financial flows and strengthen good practices on assets recovery and return to foster sustainable development in the country. This will be organized by the African Union Agency, NEPAD, the New Partnership on African Development, as well as our EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Then there's, and of course, you know, those issues are issues that are real priorities for our country. Illicit financial flows, recovery of, you know, stolen assets and all that. And of course, sustainable development goals, all the social challenges that we face as a country, and all the targets that we hope to achieve under the sustainable development goals. Then there's another side event on sanitation and hygiene campaign for a clean Nigeria, sharing lessons and key insights. And this is being organized by the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Then also we have bilateral meetings that you know, Mr. President will be organizing for Mr. President, an opportunity to engage with all the different personalities who will be there, especially in respect of key issues of priority for our country. So other presidents and other important personalities who also want to meet with Mr. President, such as, you know, Bill Gates and all the others who have major projects in Nigeria. It's also important to state, because each session of the General Assembly has a theme, an overarching theme, and this overarching theme is usually the prerogative of the President of the General Assembly to decide. You know, he's chairing the session, excuse me, for 1 year, and so he wants to focus on certain priorities, what he considers to be priorities. And in this case, the President of the General Assembly's, the theme that he has selected is galvanizing multilateral efforts for poverty eradication, quality education, climate action, and inclusion. So he's capturing 4 areas really there. Poverty, and these are areas I think that also resonate with us as a country. They're priorities that we have identified already, Mr. President, and we very much buy into. Poverty eradication, you know, creating of jobs as one of the main planks of Mr. President's agenda, next level agenda. Quality education, again, a major priority for us, and a global priority too. Climate action, again, it's something that you know, we have seen how devastating that can be, and Mr. President is a very passionate and active participant in the global efforts to fight climate change, and also inclusion. marginalized communities around the world and the need for real inclusion, the youth inclusion, the gender inclusion, and non-discrimination on whatever basis. So those 4 areas constitute part of the theme for this 74th session of the General Assembly. Then there are some high-level meetings that will also take place during this period. So, in addition to the statements of the heads of states, the round table, and organized by various countries, side events as they're called, and the binationals. There are also the high-level meetings that are organized either by the UN or other major agencies. And Mr. President has been invited to them. They're meetings that are focused on on different themes, and high level being that it'll be at the level of presidents. And so we have, for instance, a high-level meeting on a Climate Action Summit 2019, a race we can win, a race we must win. So climate change is always at the multilateral level, international level, one of the big global issues. And then there's a high-level meeting on universal health coverage, a high-level meeting, a high-level political forum on sustainable development, again on the sustainable development goals, a high-level commemorative event to mark the 30th anniversary of the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and then a high-level dialogue on financing for development, a high-level meeting on the elimination of nuclear weapons, and a high-level meeting to review progress made in addressing the priorities of small island developing states through the implementation of the Small Island Developing States Accelerated Modalities of Action pathway. So that's another series of meetings that will take place, and some of them are obviously, are very much areas that we consider to be of priority. We, as a country, I mean, the question is always, what is our strategy? What does Nigeria want to get out of the General Assembly? Because it really is an opportunity. Well, there are a number of things we want to achieve, a number of deliverables that we hope for. First, amongst them is that there are certain Nigerians who are vying for international positions, and the country itself, vying for certain international positions. So this is also an opportunity to engage with countries to try to get their support, so that we can, deliver those. For instance, Nigeria is keen to be elected into a category of the International Maritime Organization. We didn't make it the last time round, so we are persisting this time. And with the challenges that we have, maritime challenges, we feel that it's important that we be, on the governing bodies for regulating maritime issues. We're also vying for a position on the World Heritage Committee of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. We're vying for a seat under Part 2 on the International Civil Aviation Organization Council. We have a candidate that we're pushing to be on the committee against torture. We also have a candidate that we are pushing for election to the United Nations Committee on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. So we will be taking advantage of our presence there during the General Assembly to also lobby for these positions. But also more broadly and more strategically in terms of as a country, it's an opportunity to project our country as a important member of the international community, and of course having the President of the General Assembly is something that also gives us that higher visibility and greater influence. And we would obviously want to use that to push agendas of importance to us as a country. Our fight against corruption and repatriation of stolen loot, engaging with other countries to help us in our quest to successfully deliver on sustainable development goals, objectives that cover all our social, economic challenges. Terrorism and countering violent extremism is obviously something that we would want to maintain at the highest level of global priorities because, of course, of our major challenges. Mr. President has just come back from a summit meeting of ECOWAS heads of state on peace and security in the West African sub-region. So this is still an existential challenge we're facing, and it's important to use that opportunity to keep the global community engaged and supportive of what we are doing in our fight, and also taking the opportunity to get greater United Nations buy-in and support in that fight against terrorism, but also in the global conflicts taking place in Africa. There are a lot of peacekeeping troops, that have been deployed around the continent in the framework of the African Unity, of the African Union, and Nigeria is very present in those, be they in Somalia, Sudan, and across West Africa, and it's important to have financial support as well as other support from the UN and UN peacekeeping division. So this is also an opportunity to to push for that and to get that a UN buy-in. Irregular migration is also another issue. There's a global compact that the United Nations has come up with on on migration, and we're a country that from which a lot of migrants go out, and so we also want to be very much part of the policy making and implementation going forward on the treatment of of migrants and so forth. We've seen the possible impacts of those in places like South Africa and other countries, Libya. So it's important for us that we keep this also at the top of the international agenda, the treatment of migrants, humane treatment of migrants. And then there are other issues of priority to this country that we also wish to push there. The recharging of Lake Chad, which is something we consider to be an existential issue. The lake has shrunk by 90% or so. It's a source of livelihood for 20 to 30 million people, and again we want global buy-in, international communities buy-in to that, and to help in with our quest to recharge this lake, which will be a hugely expensive undertaking, and so we really do need international support for that. And water challenges, clean water challenges, environmental challenges in the country, climate issues, and mitigating those climate challenges. These are all issues of great importance to us. Other areas, agriculture, oil and gas, the cleanup of the Niger Delta, where we also, want international support for. So we will use this opportunity to push on a number of those issues. As I said, Mr. President will be having bilateral meetings with top global business personalities, so pushing the issue of foreign direct investment into our country, which is absolutely what we need. Our revenue streams are not as high as we would like, so we need to diversify. We are diversifying, but we need foreign direct investment into our country. So Mr. President will be engaging with with those sectors while there, and also he will be meeting with some of the Nigerians in the diaspora again to engage with them and include them, because at the end of the day about 22 to 25 billion dollars that flow into Nigeria come from Nigerians in the diaspora. So that's a very important segment of our population, and Mr. President is always keen to engage with them. He's president of Nigerians within Nigeria and Nigerians outside Nigeria. So it's a large and open framework that we're going to be trying to deal with and engage with from Mr. President, and we're fully mobilized for that. As I said, that the team that will be accompanying him will include members of his cabinet and other MDAs and heads of MDAs that will ensure that we have the technical resources to be able to maximize the benefits from our presence in New York. So that's an overview of UNGA 74th session and how we propose to go and engage with the international community. Thank you very much.